Hey y'all, what's happening? Who says that? I mean, I understand if you're from the South you say that, but obviously I'm from Canada, so I don't know why I'm saying that, but it was fun. Anyway, I want to do a quick sort of just touch base on these EEC4s and talk to you guys about a little bit about how I want to talk to you guys a little bit about these ECUs, just really quick in case you are doing this. I'm also going to do an overview of just kind of a high-level overview of how to wire them. But what I'm talking about can apply to pretty much any ECUs from whenever they were invented in the 70s up till mid to late 2000s. After that, they get a little bit more complicated. But basically, what happens is this is what controls your engine. Right, and these older ones were very much like set up to run a certain way, and if you change anything they stop working. So the hot mod would actually be to take this PK1 ECU and swap it out with the PF3, and you'd make slightly more power that way. Like, that's how you did it back in the day. And I'm putting the LA3, which is in the car, because that's the one from a turbo coupe, which is like way faster. But then you have to change all the hardware to match what the ECU wants. So for example, there's this larger VAM, which is measuring your airflow. And then I also have a smaller one. Here it is. Okay, this is a slightly different size. And so if you took the wrong ECU that was designed for that smaller VAM and put this VAM in, it would read the wrong amount of air, lean out your engine, blow your engine up, or else if vice versa, it'd make your engine run super rich and just not work. So it's not like tunable ECUs where you can like make adjustments. You have to put the right thing in the right place. And so I'm going to be selling these to a lucky buyer because I'm going to give them away for like next to nothing for somebody who wants them. But basically, that's how it works, right? So you get a wiring diagram. If you're doing this, I kind of give you the overview, but this wiring diagram and this points list are for the LA3 ECU, okay? Thunderbird McCurr ECU. And so you got to make sure that the pins are the same, because the pins have to basically go certain places, and if you put the wrong pin to the wrong place in the ECU, best case it doesn't work. Worst case, you could fry your ECU. And so that's why you kind of have to make sure, to at least a certain extent, you know what you're doing. And you need to know which parts go to what. So this PK1, you can find these kinds of charts for all line, whether it's you can find these charts online, whether it's a GM, a Ford, whatever it is, you can find them. So this PK1, if I come on my little chart here, is for a 85 to 89 XR, which I believe is the Mercury. Pretty sure. Unless it's the Mercury. I don't know. But you see here it says it matches with the small VAM and the 35 pph injectors. Now there's also 30 pph injectors, and there's big VAMs. So if you had those, it wouldn't work. Okay, so that's just something you need to know. Then I have the PF3. And the PF3 is the 86 to 89 manual small VAM with 35-pound injectors. Now something I want to point out here, I think I talked about this in my other video, is that one of these, they're both PF3s. Okay, you can see that, both PF3s, but one of them has way more pins than the other one. Now there's a couple reasons that could be. It could be that the one with more pins was a higher end model, and had extra stuff in it. It could be that somebody's gone in and modified this. There's a lot of reasons why that could happen. And so when you're getting into this, you really have to do a lot of research and kind of know what you're doing, or try to talk to someone who knows what they're doing, because it's weird, like things can change halfway through the year. So you can see here, like 84 to 85 and a half was one way, and then when you get to, also 84 to 85, yeah, you get what I'm saying. They can change halfway through the year. So just something you kind of need to do your research. Now these EEC4s were in every Ford, every single model had these during, the late 80s, early 90s. And I think in like 93, something like that, they changed them out to a newer model, but essentially the newer model works the same. So gives you an idea of how to do this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it right now, but now I'll take you guys through the wiring. How do we actually do wiring for this car? I'm going to interrupt myself and just point out another thing that people do, a common mistake with these ECUs, is they take these engines and they think, oh, I want to make it faster, which is awesome, you should. But they'll do things like swap the injectors out without making any changes to the ECU. And when you do that, that computer is telling that ECU to fire, but it's putting in a different amount of fuel, and it doesn't know what's going on. It's a closed loop system, that's what it's called. And so it has no, it just doesn't know what's happening. And it actually not only will not make more power, but it can have a tendency to actually reduce your horsepower, screw things up, have emissions problems, go into limp modes, all kinds of things. So you're definitely better off not to play with it unless you can make changes to the ECU as well. So I'm not going to go through in this video everything that you need to do. I'm not going to do a step-by-step walkthrough. My philosophy is if you're going to tackle something like this, you should be able to do it already by yourself. I don't think you want to be learning from me on a YouTube video, but I will point out if you're doing this exact setup or very similar, you know, that could be a 5-liter Mustang as well. They have almost the exact same setup. Some of the key things to look for is or that are problems or not immediately obvious. Like most things, you just kind of wire it in, find the pin, and wire it. Make sure your ignition grounds, their shielded wires, are grounded. That's going to be really important. What other things I want to talk about? For my case, I wasn't reusing the relays, so this relay block, the diagram says plug it into a hole in the relay block. What you need to do is go and find a relay diagram, such as this one, and use that to figure out what type of relay you want to use and where you're going to put it. So, I mean, if you're just swapping it out in your vehicle, you might get lucky and everything will line up, but for me, where I was doing an entire car, everything I have to do custom. You know, every single relay, I have to figure out the amperage, figure out where I'm going to put it, figure out what it all has to connect to. So there's not a lot of hand holding on this, but it is doable. It's definitely doable. So that's kind of how the ECUs work. And so basically different ECUs give you different horsepower. There's a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes it's because they wanted to get better fuel economy in one car, or one car was more expensive and so they could afford parts that allowed it to have more horsepower. There's all kinds of reasons why. And so, or sometimes just technology advanced. I mean, if you look at these motors, the 2.3s, you know, this is a 70s engine design, and they had to learn how to improve the power. Well, this was one of the first turbocharged cars ever in mass production. Like Ford, I'm not saying Ford invented the turbochargers, but they were right on the cutting edge. And so they were learning when they sent these cars out. And so the earlier models had less power. They were a more rich tune, and they wanted to be safe with the engine. They didn't want it to blow up on their customers. And I'm sure their customers thanked them for that. But as time went on, they got more confident. Now, I'm simplifying it. There's also emissions reasons. There's all kinds of things that go into it. But what we're basically going to try and do is we're going to set this engine up with the ECU, get the base horsepower out of it, and then we're going to upgrade to a modern ECU. But I thought it would be worth going over these EEC4s because a lot of people out there have them and are doing them. I've been on Facebook and I've been shocked how many people are doing them. But there's very few videos on YouTube about it. So hopefully this helps a little bit. If you put something in the comments, I will absolutely get back to you. I don't have a lot of subscribers and I'm super diligent about it. I really appreciate you guys checking this out. If you like what you saw, please click subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you thought. See you guys next time.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning,
Throw this at the end of my video. If I am selling these, I have not touched these. I don't know their history, but I have 3 PF3s. I'd let them go for 50 bucks Canadian. Super cheap. I'll ship them to you. You just got to pay for shipping. PK1, same thing. 50 bucks for the pair. We'll discount because there's only 2. 45 bucks for the pair. Okay guys, so I just took this apart, pulled off a couple of screws. I'm not going into it at all. It will still work just fine. I just wanted to make sure it hadn't been modified by anyone. You can see the tape on the back is still intact. So it seems to be fine. I don't know anything else about it. But it doesn't look to me like it's been modified at all. So all I did was just peel this lid up a little bit. I'm just going to close it back down, put the bolts back in, and call it a day. I don't know why it has more pins than the other ones, but it looks factory to me. So I will just leave it at that. If you want to buy these, it's as is. I'm not reducing the price because I opened it. If none of the 3 work, I'm not giving your money back. It's your risk if you buy them. That's why I'm putting them on for such a low price. But as far as I know, there's 0 reason why these shouldn't work. So yeah, let me know if you want them.